There's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today. Country House Rescue is back, and this time entrepreneur Simon Davis is at the helm.
Some people, though, they look at this and say, why should we have any sympathy for you? You could just sell it.
We really do need help because we're just not making any headway on our own.
The pot has been emptied. There's nothing left in the pot.
I do have my moments of darkness and doubt where I think, what have I done?
Simon Davis is a hard-hitting businessman with a proven track record in the fields of hospitality, restaurant consultancy and events. Simon is going to take his years of business experience and immerse himself in the world of the British country house.
I'm trying to plot my way to the swimming pool.
Yes, do, please do.
This will enable him to find the practical and sometimes unorthodox business solutions that will help secure their future.
Go on the lair, get in there! Just take shabby chic to a whole new level.
You don't need to be living in this enormous house all year round.
Oh, yes, we do.
No, you don't.
I can't do this, I'm sorry.
But the reality is, if you don't employ anyone else, that's going to stay empty. Simple as that.
Go away! We're in the middle of here, shut up!
This time, Simon battles to save one of Northern Ireland's most historic houses by fighting to allow the public access to this hidden part of our heritage.
I don't want to see it ruined, the house, and I don't want to see it sort of overtaken by millions of people.
This is Colbrook Park, a neoclassical mansion built in 1820 in County Fermanagh, Northern Ireland. It's been home to Viscount and Viscountess Brookeborough for over 30 years. A lord-in-waiting to the Queen and active member of the House of Lords, Alan's family, the Brookes, have been landowners in this part of Northern Ireland since 1641. Alan's grandfather, the first Viscount Brookeborough, lived here until his death in 1973. But, with other properties on the estate, the main house stood empty for the next 7 years, and with little or no maintenance was in grave danger of falling into ruin. His marriage to Janet in 1980 spurred Alan to take much-needed action.
3 weeks before we got married, I suggested we'd live in Colbrook.
I was never consulted about the decision, which I think he took with his parents. I'm very glad we did it, really, because it's a huge privilege to have the chance to save an old house. I think everybody thought we were completely mad. They still do.
It's been a 30-year labour of love, with the couple restoring each room in turn as funds allowed. But this is an ongoing project where the costs continue to mount up.
The insurance is horrific. The repairs are frantic. The other day, a roof fell through in the yard, and that will be 150,000, merely to reinstate it.
Alan and Janet are both in their 50s, and with no children of their own, need to start planning for the future.
Well, I, in particular, have given my life to this place, and I would hate to shuffle off and have it all just fall apart, because then, you know, all the hard work would have been for nothing.
The £300,000 income from the 1,100-acre estate comes from farming, forestry and exclusive shooting weekends. But despite its historic position at the heart of the local community, throwing open the doors to the general public is not an option for the Brookeboroughs.
We tried weddings. They're too intrusive. When they were on, it was a complete nightmare. We were sort of locked away in the back of the house because the house is not designed or big enough to have it separate.
We really, really, really need something which contributes to Colbrook, which doesn't mean filling up the house.
Determined that their efforts to rescue the house haven't been in vain, Alan and Janet have called on entrepreneur and troubleshooter Simon Davis for his help.
It's difficult to have to go and ask for advice because you're slightly admitting defeat. I think you need a fresh thinker from outside and be slightly more objective about it, because we can't really be objective about it. It's too much part of us.
first glimpse of Colbrook, which on first impressions is a pretty fortress-like, indomitable-looking building, but of course, all is not well.
Having launched many successful businesses and created numerous high-profile events, can Simon use his professional acumen to spot the potential at Colbrook Park?
Lord Brookeborough.
Morning. Hello, Simon.
How do you do?
Very
Simon
nice to
Davis.
see you indeed, and this
Hello.
is Janet.
How do you
Nice to see
do?
you.
Well, welcome to Colbrook.
What a beautiful house.
Thank you
It's
for coming
amazing,
and bringing the good weather
I'm pleased you
with
came out to meet me. I was sort of getting my head around how I was going to use your bell.
Well, don't worry, it
Come
just
on
sort
in,
of stalls
come in.
people for a minute, and then we can take control after that.
Great, thank you.
Although the shooting weekends bring in a respectable £7,000 a time, Simon must find the couple the extra income that will help preserve this house for their heirs and for the nation.
So you host shooting parties here as a business?
Yes,
Is that right?
we do between, I suppose, 7 and 10 shooting weekends a winter.
And they stay in the house, the guns stay in
Totally.
the house?
Yeah.
And
It's the only way to make any money out of it is to have them in the house.
Yeah.
And that is a 24-hour job, really. If they stay up very late, we will go on to bed, but he will set his alarm for 2, 3 in the morning to get up and check that the house is secured and the fire guards are up and the lights are off. So it really is 24 hours.
Yeah, that's hard work. Is it very much when they come that they can take the house and it's sort of pretend it's theirs, or is it very much you are hosting them?
No, we host them.
It is not like a hotel, and therefore there is no question of people renting it from us.
So it really is hands-on. I mean, you know, Lord and Lady Brookeborough here at Colbrook, but actually
It's Alan and Janet,
It's Alan
and not
Janet running a B&B,
Absolutely.
albeit a very grand one.
Yes.
That's what you're
Yes,
doing.
absolutely.
That's the reality
Yes.
of the situation.
Yes.
Despite a relatively short period of activity over 4 months during the winter, the shooting party's effects are felt all year.
During the shooting season, everything else that I normally do, I have to stop completely because I just don't have the time. Having said that, there's no possibility of stopping doing it at the moment because it's what we do, we know we do it well, so we're going to keep doing it. But, you know, in 30 years' time, we'll be, I think, completely incapable.
In the last 200 years, nearly a quarter of all of Ulster's significant country houses have burnt down, been bulldozed or left beyond repair. And Colbrook Park could have gone the same way. After the death of Alan's grandfather, much of the land, farming equipment and the entire contents of the house was sold off to pay inheritance taxes. Alan and Janet have spent the last 30 years buying back as much of Colbrook's furniture and artwork as they could find and afford. Janet has taken a particular hand in restoring the grand formal rooms to their former glory.
This is the drawing room.
A magnificent room.
The wallpaper is original.
Yeah.
And
How old would that be?
about 1830.
Right.
Yeah.
So my first reaction when I walk in here is one of, you know, what a wonderful, opulent, grand room. An amazing job that you've done to get it to this point. But if you'll forgive me, my other reaction is, if you've got a room like this, what's your problems in terms of, you know, your finances? You know, you sort of walk in here and think, I wish I had your problems.
The problems are, as the business grows, the more maintenance it needs and the more running costs that it has. And we can only do a certain amount in the house because we do it so hands-on. So we've got to find something to fund it from outside. Well, listen, shall I show you to your
That
room?
would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, listen, I'll take this. I'll take this one. What have you got in here?
To help formulate his business plan, Simon will be spending the night. There are a large number of tastefully refurbished bedrooms within the house that are currently only used during the shooting season. Could these be an important source of extra income?
This is your bedroom, and I hope it's warm enough.
So how many bedrooms are there for guests?
There are 15 bedrooms that the guests have, but
Right.
2 of those are part of a flat at the back of the house.
Right. Are they all the same? Essentially the same?
They're all similar because they're rooms of the house. So when people arrive, there's no such thing as them wanting this room. 8 people arrive there, you tell them where they're going, and you tell them that that's it.
Thanks very much indeed, Alan.
And we're not dressing up for dinner, unless you particularly want to.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed getting to know Alan and Janet. The one thing that's really struck me so far, that at Colbrook, it's Alan's way or it's no way.
With so much of the Brookeborough's income dependent on the shooting weekends, Simon wants to find out more about the state of their finances.
The turnover income is about 300,000 and our expenses were something like 8,000 short of that.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Because you go into that beautiful drawing room and it all looks so grand and opulent and it looks as though it's dripping with wealth. But actually, when you break it down, you're left with bugger all.
Although the couple just about break even at the moment, there is next to no income available to tackle the ongoing restoration projects, and the loss of any of the shooting earnings would plunge them into financial difficulties.
How sustainable is that situation?
Long term, it's not sustainable, and it's certainly, I mean, heaven forbid, but it certainly doesn't leave a gap for one of us to break a leg or whatever. The whole thing could fall apart.
You don't have any children yourselves.
No.
So what will be the situation with the inheritance?
There is an heir.
There's an heir and 3 spares.
Yeah.
Alan's brother will inherit everything, and he luckily has 4 sons, so eventually our eldest nephew will inherit it. But we want to hand on something which is viable and which doesn't become an albatross. So it would be nice to think that we can find something that will slightly take it over but leave us with perhaps more of a life in the house. Because I think part of the problem is that we moved into it, it's our home, and it's grown and grown and grown and grown and grown, but we still regard it as our home. I mean, from my point of view, I've put more than 30 years of my life into this place, which is why I'm so keen to secure its future. It's a very selfish attitude, I have to say, probably. But, you know, I don't want to see it ruined, the house, and I don't want to see it sort of overtaken by millions of people.
But we didn't walk into an empty house to give it up 30 years later. That's sad, you know?
So financially, despite all the hard work and all the passion, Alan and Janet end up with bugger all. This house has huge potential. And the more and more I talk to them, the more it becomes apparent to me that they may be the problem.
But will the couple take kindly to the suggestions of Simon's business plan for the sake of saving Colbrook?
And it should be promoted to other people, to bring other people here. But then we have to get over the hurdle of you not wanting other people here.
Colbrook Park in County Fermanagh is home to Lord and Lady Brookeborough and is the seat of one of Northern Ireland's most important families, the Brookes. The church on the estate contains the tombs and memorials to many generations of the family, including Viscount Basil Brooke, who was Prime Minister of Northern Ireland for 20 years, and Field Marshal Viscount Alan Brooke, Chief of the Imperial General Staff during the Second World War and Winston Churchill's right-hand man. The imposing sandstone mansion at the heart of the estate was constructed around a smaller manor house in the 1820s. Inside the 50-room property, the ornate stucco ceilings in the reception rooms are fine examples of Irish Georgian plasterwork.
We've never dared to touch it because I think if it came down we couldn't get anybody to replace it, so we've only painted the flat surfaces on the ceilings.
Alan and Janet Brookeborough have spent the last 30 years restoring the house, both as their home and as a location for shooting parties for a select market during the winter. Although their current income just about covers their costs, the couple desperately need the assistance of businessman Simon Davis, who has spent the night in the house to help him explore all of the possibilities for increasing their income.
Good morning, Janet.
Simon, did you sleep well?
Very well indeed. You?
Good, fine, thank you.
I'm trying to plot my way to the swimming pool.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, which way do I go?
Down that way.
That
yes,
way.
Down
okay,
that way.
Perfect.
As something extra for the guests of the exclusive shooting parties, Alan has spent £25,000 buying an eclectic assortment of fitness equipment, which he has crammed into the house's original kitchen.
It takes a bit of practice to be able to stay in the current.
You're loving this, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
The spa market in the UK is worth an estimated £550 million a year, and with its wealth of unused outbuildings and 1,100 acres of beautiful parkland, a health and fitness business could be a way forward for Colbrook. But is Alan going about it in the right way?
We put too much in the room, so we moved the sauna out into that.
Right.
And we're moving the hot tub out undercover. And
so this is sort of a mini spa?
Yes, it's a mini spa, because everything that we've done has been because there's been a bit of a demand, and we know that a lot of our guests would quite like that.
Right. What's your experience of spas?
Zero.
Right, okay.
Zero, but we're not trying to be a health farm.
A properly run spa would require substantial investment, and although Alan has a bank loan of up to £100,000 available, there are other pressing calls on the funds.
Look at the bow. Yeah, it's subsidence. In very round figures, to reinstate, not to put into use, to reinstate 150 grand.
So is that a member of staff here?
Yeah, that's Kate Crane, who helps and manages things.
And what's her role?
And her role is basically, because we're so flat out doing the things we're doing, she looks after other things, whether it's forestry, whether it's a development that we might do here.
And has she proved herself useful?
Of course. Yeah. Otherwise she wouldn't. Yes, yeah. Very much so.
Great. Well, I'm going to go have a chat with her.
Working with everybody on the
Colbrook is run with the bare minimum of staff, so Simon is anxious to hear Kate's thoughts on whether it is being managed effectively.
If there were a different situation, if Lord and Lady Brookeborough weren't in residence, if it wasn't their home, I think there would be plenty of other things you could do.
Do you think the members of the public would like to come and have a look around?
There's a huge appetite for people to come and see the house. I mean, I would be contacted quite regularly to say we're a historical society or a garden society or whatever it may be. People could come and do tours of it, hear more about the history, see the house, stay in the house, have it open for house parties and for weddings. The property has been essentially closed to the public for quite a long time through the Troubles. Nobody even knows it's here. And it's such a gem. It really is a beautiful estate and has so much to offer. People want to come in, they want to see the place.
Is that something that you'd like to be involved in as well? Would that fall under the remit of your role as estate manager? I presume
in theory, yes, it would.
If the public are to be allowed more access to the house and estate, Alan and Janet will need to view it as more of a business and less of a home. And it's clear that Colbrook's future is a very emotional subject for them.
All I've done for the last nearly 32 years has been involved with renovating this place, so it's very important to me. I mean, I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else, so it's very important.
It's obvious. We're away. Sorry. Sammy. All right. Whoa.
When one really looks at the state of all these dilapidated outbuildings, it really hits home the fate that could have befallen Colbrook itself had Alan and Janet not stepped in, and they should be very proud of that. It also shows the enormous potential they've got here for self-catering accommodation and all sorts of activity.
One area already refurbished to a high standard is the top yard next to the house. These near-derelict buildings were renovated a number of years ago to provide stabling for Janet's horses and a home for her late parents.
So where are we? And what happens in here now?
Well, nothing.
Right.
You know, we don't know at the moment.
So there's got a lot of potential in this.
There is a lot of potential.
Top yard.
Yes, there is a lot of potential. We've just got to work out what we're going to do with this in particular.
Yeah.
You know, it's got 4 ensuite bedrooms in it. So, you know, you could pack in quite a few people.
Yeah. Do you think your emotional tie to Colbrook, which is obviously profound, is a stumbling block?
Could be. Could be. Particularly in my case. It was dying when we took it on, and it now isn't. But, you know, it will do again if we don't find something else to do with it.
Yeah. It's not dying at the moment, that's clear, but it's getting short of breath.
It's a trouble. Yeah, absolutely.
After 2 days assessing the problems at Colbrook, Simon asks Alan and Janet to join him in the dining room to present his business plan to secure its future.
I want to start by thanking you first for allowing me to come to Colbrook, but I do feel it has become something of an emotional anchor. Alan, I think your passion and commitment is really inspiring, but in the nicest possible way, you are something of a control freak. And I do think it's good that you hired an estate manager in Kate. My concern, of course, is that you don't let her manage. Now, either you decide that Kate isn't sufficiently capable to do that role and therefore get someone else, or you allow Kate to take more of a managerial role. Either way, someone has to manage, other than yourself.
Despite the recession, the health and well-being market in the UK continues to grow year on year. With 1,100 acres of grounds, which are ideal for cycling and other outdoor activities, coupled with the assorted exercise equipment that Alan has already invested in, Simon believes that there are the foundations for a very successful fitness business, but that it needs to be given a much clearer direction.
Just having an exercise pool and a hot tub in a former kitchen does not a spa make. No. I don't even think it should be in that room. My view is that the upper stable yard, where your late parents lived, Janet, is the best location for the spa. Before my next visit, I think it would be useful if you two went to a spa, experience it, and I think it will give you a greater appreciation of perhaps where you've gone wrong here.
The spa was put in to provide something for the people who are staying.
Have you added on any money because you've put in that spa?
No.
Well then...
No. We haven't, because we're in a very competitive market.
So you've invested capital in creating a spa which isn't really a spa, and it's for people who you're not charging a premium now you've done the spa.
You're absolutely right. It's not about doing something and charging.
It is about charging. We've kind of got to think bigger picture. That's the whole point of being here. It absolutely should have gone somewhere else, and it should be promoted to other people, to bring other people here. But then we have to get over the hurdle of you not wanting other people here.
Simon believes that the existing shooting business is well run and profitable, so should continue for as long as Alan and Janet are able. But because of Colbrook's important history and impressive formal rooms, he is determined that the house should be made to pay its way by being made more accessible to the general public for weddings, tours and events. And that will require a big change for Alan and Janet.
Now, I'm not going to suggest that tomorrow you move out of Colbrook, because I already anticipate the reaction I'll receive from Alan. But what I do firmly believe is that a plan needs to be put in place now for when you will actually be leaving. I don't suggest for a minute that you're leaving Colbrook, the estate. I just think you need to free up your greatest asset so it can bring in the best revenue for you. Not only for you, but for your nephew, should he be the person who inherits.
I mean, we have made our business out of a select marketplace, which is people. See, I
think that's your problem.
Which is people. Wait, hang on. Which is people coming here in an organised fashion, and they can do whatever they like.
Yes, but that's slightly your problem. It's great. It's a select marketplace. It's sort of what you would be doing anyway to invite your friends here to shoot. They just happen to, these particular groups of people from a similar background, usually to you, happen to be paying for it. That's basically what the business is. You don't know about all the other enormous number of people who potentially would want to come here, because it's still your home, and you basically, with some justification, don't really want them in your house.
Correct.
That's really what it's about.
Yes, that's why.
It's about freeing up this house and not strangling it with your love.
With Simon gone, Alan and Janet have an opportunity to reflect on his advice.
There is great merit in what he is saying about using Colbrook in a different way. But this is our big issue, is that when we change to that way, that is a quantum change.
If we were to move out of the house next year, the shooting business we have built up over these years will collapse, because people might come once, but they won't come again.
But when Simon returns to check on progress, his desire for Alan to delegate runs into a huge problem.
I'm a bit surprised here Kate had left.
Yes, it's very sad.
Colbrook Park in County Fermanagh. This historic mansion has been brought back from the brink of ruin by the labours of Alan and Janet, Lord and Lady Brookeborough. Their main income comes from exclusive shooting weekends, but the last party of the season confirms just how all-consuming the existing business is. While Alan is the omnipresent host,
frantic,
Janet works tirelessly in the kitchen to feed the 16 guests.
You're there.
This one, perfect, thank you.
Simon Davis had counselled the couple to pass more responsibility for the new activities onto their estate manager, Kate Crane. But in the last few weeks, Kate has left.
I don't mean that we didn't need her anymore or whatever. It'd been lovely if she'd been here. But she's not here, and she set it up in such a way that at the moment we're still alive.
Against Simon's advice, Alan has decided to take even more control.
Whether I think I'm a control freak, he's entitled to his opinion. If one wasn't in control, then what would happen?
But one of Simon's other suggestions for Colbrook has been better received. Creating a spa which is open to the public in a former stable block.
Hello, welcome to Calcott.
Hello, thank you very much.
Nice to meet you both.
As Alan and Janet have little or no experience of visiting a spa, Simon's arranged a research trip to Calcott in the Cotswolds. The spa turned over nearly £1.5 million last year, but has built up its business from humble beginnings.
Yeah, so we've been here for 26 years.
Yes. Yep.
We added the spa 9 years ago.
Yes.
But we did start just as a farmhouse with just 7 bedrooms, and gradually over the years the outbuildings have been converted.
Oh, wonderful.
Simon believes that for the spa at Colbrook to be a financial success, it must be marketed to more than just their existing house guests.
We have 3 groups of people that use the spa. We've got our hotel guests that have access to it all the time. We have our local membership of 500, which is fairly fitness driven, and then we do day spas, and day spas are really important to us because they fill up the beauty treatment rooms upstairs.
Can you tell where the muscles are tense?
Yeah, you can feel knots just in between the muscles.
But mine are very relaxed, right?
You've got a few knots.
Having compared their first efforts at Colbrook to a professionally run spa, Alan and Janet have reached a decision.
It does show that it doesn't have to be colossal, and it's much more personable in the size.
Yes.
And ours will be even more personable because we'll be slightly smaller size.
Yeah.
It's February, and Simon is returning to Colbrook for the first time in 10 weeks. He has put Alan in touch with Jennifer Gorman, a leading spa development consultant, in the hope that he will listen to her advice when it comes to planning the new spa in the former stables. Also attending are Maria Prunty, a local beauty product specialist, as well as Nadine Lyons, who owns a spa in nearby 5 Mile Town and has expressed interest in managing the spa at Colbrook.
If I have one serious concern about Alan's attitude to the spa, is that he's going to make the same mistakes again. You know, classic Alan fashion. The first time he went hammer and tongs into it, bought all the kit, threw it into the old kitchen, and it just didn't work. This time he's got to have a well-considered business plan. He's got to make sure that he takes advice from experts. And before he spends any more money, he's got to keep his eye on the goal. Otherwise it won't be a success in the long run.
Alan is willing to put up to £35,000 of borrowings into the spa. But before any money is spent, Simon is hoping for a consensus from the experts.
Lovely to meet you. Hello.
I mean, I've been to a few spas in my time. Now, being blunt, because there isn't a huge amount of money to invest in this, what can actually be done?
The first impression has to be superb. However small a business you're starting, however low risk you want it to be, if that first impression is wrong, you've lost that client, really. You've got to make sure that the entrance is welcoming and nice, and it doesn't look necessarily like a stable block. You've got great competition in Northern Ireland. You know, there's some very good spas, and for somebody to want to come here to a day spa rather than some of the hotels in the area, which give them a very, very good spa experience, you're going to have something very special and unique, and Colbrook is unique, but you have to bring out, you know, everything about Colbrook that is unique.
This could be a core business, and there are other things which might come here because of this. Be they river walks, be they watching wild animals, be they yoga. Those are all things which can come on, which really apply to people coming here for a day-long experience. But at the moment, this is what we're concentrating on.
Pleased that Alan seems to be open to further change at Colbrook, Simon is keen to hear more.
I was really encouraged when I was in there to hear you talking about the potential of people coming here and going and doing yoga retreats, because the last time I came to visit, there was certainly a little bit of a sense of reluctance to opening up fully Colbrook and its estate. I think it's great. It shows a willingness to get people here. And that, of course, leads on to the whole notion of you still living in the house.
One thing is clear, is that Janet and I did not retrieve Colbrook from an era and work the last 30 years to move out. We did up Colbrook to live in.
But you don't need to be living in this enormous house all year round.
Oh, yes, we do.
No, you don't.
Oh,
All year round, just to host those...
No, we do.
Just to host those shooting weekends. I've identified the house as one of the great potential revenue streams, and yet it's not being utilised.
And yet at this time, we're talking about the spa, and we're talking about using it more. But we are never going to live a dual life of living outside Colbrook and coming back in for shoots. The problem is people are emotionally involved.
I don't see it as a problem, your emotional involvement. I see it as adding enormous value. But I'm not suggesting that Colbrook, which is your home and Janet's home, becomes a country house hotel. I just think it's important that the house is utilised more.
Right.
Can you countenance the idea that the doors of Colbrook are pushed a little further ajar?
Yes, but it is an evolution, not a change.
Good. Well, then we're in agreement.
We are in agreement, because we're always in agreement eventually.
Accord has been reaced with Alan, but Simon is anxious to find out how Janet feels about other developments at Colbrook.
See you later.
Yeah, see you later.
I was a bit surprised here Kate had left.
Yes, it's very sad, but she wanted to go and do a PhD in forestry. It's what she probably wanted to do long term anyway.
Yeah. Does that load even more work onto you and Alan?
I mean, on a practical basis, we can probably manage. I think we're going to try and manage. If we find that we can't, well, then we'll look for something else.
I think it's going to be a prerequisite that someone else comes and helps.
Yeah, well then we can do that when the time comes.
As Simon is continuing to battle with Alan over plans to allow the public greater access to the house, he decides to switch to another part of his business plan by showing the Brookeboroughs that the 1,100-acre grounds can also be a significant money spinner.
I might look a bit strange, but in my view, if you're going to suggest an idea, you've got to be prepared to actually give it a go yourself.
Properly organised outdoor events at Colbrook have the potential to raise between £50,000 to £100,000 per year. So the Omar Triathlon Club have been invited to explore the possibility of organising regular events here.
OK, God, this bike, you've really splashed out here, haven't you? Look at that. It's only got one brake.
No, I'm sorry, he is an Englishman.
We've definitely noticed that.
You sabotaged me. Come on then, let's give it a go.
Leading the pack is Richard Stevens from the Pioneer Group, who have experience organising events across Northern Ireland.
Now, I've discussed with Alan the opportunity of having some events here that get people here to enjoy Colbrook and see all it has to offer. I mean, what do you think?
You've got huge opportunity for off-road stuff.
And how many sort of people do you think you could get to come?
You'd build it up. I think you could easily get upwards maybe 500, 600, 700 people. If you run a good event, it goes around people so quickly and you'll get the numbers. The main thing they want is a well-organised event. So a lot to do, not just for the cyclists, but for the family, a family event, you know.
What's great is that I've not heard one person say today that, you know, I forget about it, it's not going to work. If we can attract a decent number of people here, particularly families, do you think they'd be interested, for example, in having a look around this amazing house?
Very much so. A lot of people have never seen a house that size, and just to see what it's like inside, it'd be incredible, I think. Very interesting.
Good.
Yeah.
With plans in place for a cycling event, as well as a range of other outdoor activities at Colbrook for its opening weekend, the pressure is now on Alan and Janet to deliver when Simon returns.
The thing that worries me is that you're going to take on too much. With the cycling event, the spa, the running of the estate, and I would urge you to delegate, rely on those experts. And by the same token, and I really hope you'll do this when I come back, is when the spa hopefully brings lots of people in, that you do allow some of them, with you showing them around, to see some of these rooms. I think they would love to see them.
It may happen, it may happen.
There will be an opportunity, I'm sure.
Good luck.
Bye.
Okay. Goodbye.
Have a good trip. Bye.
As Simon departs, it's clear that Alan still has concerns about allowing the general public into the house.
We've had the term, especially from Simon, of saying Colbrook is more open to the public. And we want to make it absolutely clear that Colbrook is not open to the public like a National Trust property, or indeed like a private house that is open every day. And that is absolutely clear. We've got to use the term, is it more accessible to the public? And the answer is that everything we're doing now is making it more accessible than it was.
With Simon's final visit only 6 weeks away, work on creating a more professional spa operation at Colbrook begins in earnest.
So if we correct the roof and put a floor in, this would make a very good boiler house and, and wood fuel store.
But it's in the top yard that most activity is taking place, converting the cosy domestic environment of the refurbished stables into a commercially minded spa. Both Alan and Janet seem cautiously optimistic about this new venture.
We have put a certain amount of faith in Simon, but we would never have dared to go at this speed without some other additional advice.
Yeah. Not bad. Good stuff. Good stuff.
And we are very excited about what's happening.
I was in the local village this morning and got it. I hesitate to say attacked by one of the ladies in the checkout, who told me all about it and said she can't wait for it to be ready because she's going to be first in, kind of thing. So that's all good, you know.
So when Simon returns for Colbrook's trial wellness weekend, will Alan have learned the art of delegation?
I think you're still very much into control, but I don't think you're a freak.
Thanks.
It's April, and at Colbrook Park in County Fermanagh, Simon Davis is returning for his final visit after 6 weeks away.
I'm really excited about seeing the whole range of events they've got going on as part of their wellness weekend here. Now, the spa is obviously one of the big things here. Now, the first time Alan had a crack at it, it was pretty rubbish. We'll see how he does this time.
Simon's business plan relies on opening up Colbrook to more than the existing shooting party guests. So over the course of the weekend, a range of health and fitness activities will be taking place throughout the grounds. But with so much happening, has Alan followed Simon's advice?
Thank you.
So you've been busy?
We have.
Yes, in a relaxed way.
Delegating, Alan.
Yes.
Good.
Trying to.
Yeah, trying to.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. Now.
Wow.
What
Colbrook
about that?
Spa. That's fantastic. And you've even got the nice sign up there. I'm really impressed. It's a real noticeable change. It's much more inviting. It really feels like the sort of place you could come to and escape.
Yes, that's
See,
the
I'd
one
want
we
to come
hopefully
here.
get. Good. This should have a roof on.
It will have a roof on.
What happens in the sort of wine barrel?
That's a sauna.
That's a sauna?
Yeah.
We put you in, lock the door and turn it up.
For an initial investment of £35,000, the kitchen in the former stables has been transformed into a welcoming reception area. Alan has gone into partnership with local spa owner Nadine Lyons, who will run it alongside her existing operation.
This is fabulous, isn't it?
And help establish the new business. Upstairs, the bedrooms have been turned into 4 treatment rooms for massages, pedicures and facials.
It really feels like a proper spa. Yeah, it's fantastic. You made real effort. You really applied yourselves. If you're going to do a job, do it properly.
And then this is the last of our treatment rooms.
Wow.
This is good. This is good.
This is couples massage.
Yeah, I'm not coming here with you.
Any funny ideas?
Yeah.
And although its roots as a domestic building are hard to fully disguise, Simon gives it his seal of approval.
Do you have to sit on one of those?
Yeah, I'll have a go.
They're quite comfortable.
Watch now.
Don't worry, I'm not...
Yeah.
It's a bit of a seesaw. Oh, God, a seesaw.
That's what I was going to tell you.
We'll give you a cup of tea, Alan.
No.
This is
You've
lovely.
got to learn to do things for yourself here.
I'm delegating.
Oh, you're delegating, no.
Well, me of little faith, I really wasn't expecting that. This is just what I wanted to see. Colbrook has to be made more open to the public, and I think the spa is going to be the centre of that success.
For the first time, Colbrook Park welcomes the public to a trial wellness weekend. To show off the full potential for outdoor pursuits, Alan has arranged for a number of local health and fitness organisations to put on classes and events in the 1,100 acres of grounds to gauge reaction.
Extend the other leg out behind and the opposite arm. Get your balance.
The money-making potential is clear. From renting some of the unused outbuildings for yoga classes.
So lean back and lift your legs up. That's it.
Oh my goodness.
Just let the hands hang.
To using the self-catering accommodation for horse holidays, as well as specific events such as the cycling race.
Has Alan been good about delegating to you?
No.
Yes, I have.
He just let me do whatever I want. He's very good that way.
Because I trust him.
A calendar of planned activities should generate £50,000 of much-needed revenue this year to go towards ensuring the estate's survival. And although today's treatments are complimentary, the business plan for the spa's first year is predicting a turnover of £30,000. With everything running smoothly, Simon acknowledges a change in his view of Alan.
I must admit, when I first came here, Alan, I do know I called you a control freak. And actually, in hindsight, having been here now, it's my third visit, I think you're still very much into control, but I don't think you're a freak.
Thanks.
I can see what you're trying to do now. It's about being in control because you want people to have the best time when they come to Colbrook. And I think it needs you, and needs Janet, to be in control of that.
Well, that's very good of you to say so.
No, I do, I think that.
Cup of tea?
Janet has taken on her customary role of catering for the visitors.
I did a sort of apology to Alan for calling him a control freak.
No,
I said
he is.
he's still.
Got it right.
I still think he's obsessed with control, but he's not a freak.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough?
No, I would think you're probably what you said the first time is right.
Having been restricted to the public, and in particular the local population for so long, Simon is keen to hear how they feel about being given greater access, albeit paying, to Colbrook.
Have you ever heard of Colbrook before?
Never heard tell. It's a lovely estate.
And is it nice to be able to come to Colbrook itself?
It's brilliant to have it in the local area, and we've lived beside Colbrook for years, and it's brilliant to start to get using it.
I knew it was here, but I've never been here before, and I live in Brookeborough.
To have it on our doorstep, you know, it's in County Fermanagh and we're only down the road, and we didn't realise this is so beautiful.
Alan's brother Christopher, who has come to the opening of the spa and whose eldest son will one day inherit Colbrook, shares their view.
We're only really custodians of places like this, and our job is to take them forward to the next generation and hope that when we leave them, they're an improvement to what we received. And I think Colbrook has been a huge improvement on what Alan inherited. They've got to be open to the public. They were never isolated on their own with two people living in them, completely cut off from anything. They were always communities in themselves, and it's wonderful to see that coming back again.
Simon's business plan has shown the Brookeboroughs that there is demand for a wide range of activities at Colbrook that can run alongside the existing shooting weekends and which will help pay for the ongoing restoration. From just breaking even, the estate should be turning over £80,000 more this year. But Simon is still determined that the long-term success of Colbrook can only be secured by making more use of the main house. The official opening of the spa finally provides the impetus that he has been waiting for.
It's been a pleasure to have you all here. So a big thank you to Nadine, because she's done all the work. Completely.
Thank you. Thank you.
If some of you would like a quick look round Colbrook, I will do it now. I'll have all of you. I wasn't expecting that.
That was really great to see Alan give a little talk there to open the spa, but most importantly, he offered to show people around Colbrook, around his home, and look how many people wanted to go.
That's a badger there, obviously, dressed up for whatever, and that's because the badger's our family crest. It almost certainly comes from the fact that the family was called de Brock, and it was a Norman family at one time, and de Brock, of course, being Celtic, is a badger. And so they took on a badger, and my sister-in-law made it for me.
It's really great hearing Alan opening up and talking about his home and showing people around. There's a whole group of people here who've never been in here before, and they all live fairly nearby. They've seen it from the outside, but they've never got inside. Alan seems to be enjoying it. They're enjoying it.
And it really feels that Colbrook is being opened up to people.
I know one of the things that was very sensitive when I first came was the suggestion, my suggestion, that you should move out. Having spent more time with you and seen this wellness weekend, I think there's a compromise that can be made with this still being your home, certainly in the short to medium term. Because what this is all about is the sustainability of Colbrook and hopefully handing it on to your nephew in a situation where it's sustainable and his family and the next generation can say, and the next generation afterwards.
But thank you for all you've done, Simon. We do appreciate it. It's been a huge help.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, we can look forward to the future with a bit more optimism, really.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Super.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 I always had a sneaking suspicion that asking Alan and Janet to move out of their home was going to fall on deaf ears. But it triggered the response I wanted. It gave them a jolt and pushed them into doing far more activity than I think they initially would have been prepared to do. And by sharing what they've done here at Colbrook with the public, Alan and Janet are laying down the foundations of a secure financial future.